at Herman Square on the steps of City Hall tonight as Houston holds a celebration of life for First Lady Barbara Bush. A large crowd gathered, most of them wearing blue, Mrs. Bush's favorite color.
Many are also wearing her signature pearls. The First Lady, of course, known for wearing hers so elegantly. As you can see, it is a big turnout for a woman with a big personality. The city has an hour-long program planned, and we are carrying it live right here on Channel 2 and on click2houston.com.
Our Keith Garvin and Sarah Donchie are anchoring our coverage from Herman Square and joining us now live. Keith and Sarah?
Good evening, Bill and Dominique. It is a beautiful evening for a moment of remembrance for the life and legacy of former First Lady Barbara Bush. And we just got our hands on this program for this evening, which begins in just a few moments.
This is one of many events over the next few days that will honor the former First Lady here at City Hall here in Houston, across the street at the library as well. Things getting started right now where we are, and we're going to go ahead and join that live.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of colors by the Houston Police and Fire Departments, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and our national anthem performed by Houston Grand Opera's Nicole Houston. States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Or for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
You may be seated. Thank you very much, Nicole. That was simply beautiful, and thank you to the Houston Police and Fire Department's Honor Guard for that patriotic moment. Good evening, everyone. My name is Linda Laurel, and it is my great honor to be your Mistress of Ceremonies for this most important program. I'm the CEO and executive producer of Laurel Media. Some of you may know me from my days anchoring the news at KPRC Channel 2, also a great honor that I had for many years. I love this community. I knew Barbara Bush, and it is a great honor for me to be here today. Thank you all so much for being here to help us celebrate her life, the remarkable life of Barbara Bush. I'd like to take a moment right now to recognize some special guests, and I ask that our guests stand as I call your name. Our host, of course, the Honorable Mayor Sylvester Turner. Controller Chris Brown, Councilmember Dwight Boykins, Councilmember Jack Christie, Councilmember Carla Cisneros, Councilmember Robert Gallegos, Councilmember Mike Knox, Councilmember Mike Laster, Councilmember Dave Martin, Councilmember David Robinson, Councilmember Brenda Stardig, and Councilmember Greg Travis. How about a nice round of applause for our city's leaders? Thank you so much for hosting us this evening. And Mayor Pro Tem, of course, Ellen Cohen. Ellen, thank you. We opened our program with the Houston Children's Chorus rendition of America the Beautiful. How appropriate. As we all know, Mrs. Bush loved children. It was her passion to ensure that every child and their families had the chance to learn, to read, and write. Here to represent the power of literacy from KIPP Peace Academy is fourth grader Bailey Moore, who will read from his published book. Yes, I said published book. Mr. Archie is Missing. Please welcome Bailey Moore.
Good afternoon. I would like to give a special thanks to God, my mother, the mayor of the great city, Houston, and the Bush family. By definition, literacy is the ability to read and write. Understanding the two components of literacy enabled me to write my own book, Mr. Archie is Missing. Also, literacy has given me a great educational foundation to not only do good in school, but to ace my STAR test. Today, we must take a moment to celebrate an icon, First Lady, Miss Barbara Bush. As First Lady, Miss Barbara Bush believed the most important issue in America is literacy. She went on to help develop the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy. First Lady Miss Barbara Bush still stands as a giant in education throughout the participation of the many Houston youth that participate in her literacy program today. Thank you, First Lady Miss Barbara Bush. Before I close, I would like to leave you a quote from my book, Never Trade Respect for Attention. Today, I will also be donating my book, Mr. Archie is Missing, to the Miss Barbara Bush Literacy Foundation. Thank you.
Mrs. Bush would be so proud of you, Bailey. I know she would. That was awesome. Well, right now I'd like to take a moment to read a letter from the 41st President of the United States, the Honorable George H.W. Bush, and it reads, "Dear fellow Houstonians, Barbara would be so moved that you came out to honor her tonight. If I could, I would be with you, but at age 93, I need to save my strength for the days ahead. Just know my family and I are with you in spirit." Barbara and I have been in love with Houston since we moved here in 1959. Nowhere in the world are the hearts bigger or more generous, as we certainly proved during Harvey. Your enthusiasm for life and all that is good was and still is contagious. We have been so proud to call this great city home. You gave my Barbara and me one huge gift before she left this good earth, an Astros World Series victory. Yeah. We were glued to every single game, so thank you, Astros. Now we just need the Rockets to give our great city another world champion. Bar, they maybe could use a little help here. What do you think? Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Houston. Love, George Bush. Tonight, we come together as a city to celebrate the life of Barbara Bush. We come from all walks of life. We are of different faiths. Here to represent our faith-based community are the three amigos: founding pastor of Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, Reverend William Bill Lawson, Rabbi Emeritus of Congregation Beth Israel, Rabbi Samuel Karff, and Archbishop Emeritus Joseph Fiorenza from the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston. Reverend Lawson, we're going to have you start us off, please.
Good evening. I'm delighted to be in this memorial service, remembering the legacy of Barbara Bush. There are three of us, and we have to pray for what we want, and we ask God for a pretty afternoon. I want you to know that we respond to Barbara not out of grief because she has passed, but out of thanksgiving to our God that He gave her to us for a rich, full, beautiful life and all that she contributed to a legacy. She was not simply an icon, which we often call her, because she represented a political matriarchy, but rather because she was a person who could reach up to places of power. And she produced 6 children who represented leadership. Unfortunately, she lost one in infancy, but 5 took care of the legacy of those 6. And because she was a person who could reach down to the lowest, as Bailey Moore has let us know, she was a person who was concerned that every child should be able to read and write. Our head librarian is here, and we're glad that she got a chance to see that. And she was a person who gave the very best of what she had. So the three of us have come to represent a faith base and to say we ought to pray for her family, that God will continue to bless them and to make them grateful for Barbara Bush. You ever seen an archbishop wear blue before? That means he really respects Barbara Bush.
Good evening. What a privilege it is to share in this celebration of a great, great woman. A woman who is both fiercely loyal and a wise and trusted advisor for both her husband and her son, as each took a turn to be President of the United States of America. It doesn't get any better than that. From a spiritual perspective, the world into which we are born is both very good and very broken. We humans are commissioned by our Creator to help repair the brokenness in that tiny corner of God's world entrusted to our care. And by so doing, we discover and fulfill the deepest meaning of our own lives. We are also taught that from those to whom much has been given, much is expected. Barbara Bush was no stranger to the darker side of life. She knew loss, she knew suffering, but she also knew that she was very, very blessed. And she also knew that the highest form of helping the needy is not to keep them dependent on you, but to empower them to function well in this world. That recognition led her to embrace the Literacy Project as central to her life on this earth. And what an impact that commitment has had on so many lives. What is more empowering than literacy? But I personally experienced as well Barbara Bush's toughness. When the film Selma was ready for showing, the producers decided to have a special showing for all the living past presidents, and it was to be shown at the White House. Our President, George Bush, in Houston, was somehow unable to attend that showing. And so the producers decided to bring the special showing to Houston. They rented a theater and invited the Bushes to invite about 100 guests to see the movie. They also invited the three amigos to attend and conduct a discussion of the film at its completion. However, as it happened, my buddies, my amigos, Archbishop Fiorenza and Reverend Lawson, couldn't attend, so that left me alone. Well, I personally experienced Barbara Bush's toughness in this way. As the film was about to end, I turned to her. She was sitting next to me, and I whispered, "You know, the film is pretty long, and I have a feeling that the people in attendance, after it's over, they just as soon go home rather than hear me moderate a discussion." There was silence, and then she looked at me and whispered strongly, "You can do it." To which there was no response and none expected. I realized then that I had had my personal experience of Barbara Bush's toughness. Friends, our city is immeasurably blessed because Barbara Bush lived among us. Her soul is now part of God's eternity, May her spirit continue to bless us in the days and years ahead.
Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you so much, Bill. There have been so many beautiful words expressed in the last few days about Barbara Bush. Words that are most appropriate. And I think that we here in Houston, as Rabbi Carford just said, have been tremendously blessed to have her presence here. And we know that she was an outstanding wife and a mother to presidents, and also a mother to governors. But she was also a very involved citizen of Houston. And I think that's how we shall remember her too. She could have taken it easy in her later years, but she became a very faithful citizen, a very involved citizen. She was very interested in what was going on in this city. And she lent her presence from time to time in things that were important to the whole city. So in so many ways, we have been blessed by Barbara Bush. And that is why tonight, the city of Houston offers this tribute to her. So in so many ways, she has shown herself to be among us as one who truly serves others. Also, I'd like to, together with my two other amigos, express our fervent condolences to all the members of the Bush family. In so many ways, the Bush family is among the most memorable historic families in our history of this country. The Bush families are going to be right up there along with Washington and Jefferson and Lincoln and so many other great families of this nation. But I think each member of the Bush family would say immediately that the rock and foundation of the family was Barbara Bush. She was the one who gave the family inspiration. She was the one who gave the family wisdom and counsel and guidance. And in that way, she has been and she will continue to be such a strong, powerful witness for family life and the goodness of families. And in that way, her legacy will live on and on. So I join my dear friends and all of Houstonians in expressing our deepest condolences to all the members of the Bush family and to say to our loving and gracious God, thank you for the life of Barbara Bush. May she now rest in peace and enjoy the glory of God forever.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your words of comfort. And Rabbi Karf, I have to say that your story about the screening and getting to witness Barbara Bush's toughness reminded me of another screening story here in Houston that showed her tenderness. Back in 2012, when the movie Red Tails came out, there was a pre-screening here in Houston, and it was brought here by my dear friend and first woman of color in space, Dr. Mae Jemison. And I was working with Mae to get the screening together, and she asked me if I would invite President and Mrs. Bush to come. I did, and they said yes. So they came to the theater, and I have to say that the cast and crew, the cast were very excited to meet President and Mrs. Bush. Terrence Howard actually asked to sit next to the president, and he did, and enjoyed the film. At the end of the film, I went up to thank the Bushes for coming and to chat with them. And as I approached Mrs. Bush, there were tears rolling down her face. She was so moved by this movie. And I remember leaning over and wiping her tears away, and she could barely speak. The movie, of course, was about the Tuskegee Airmen. So that was another example of her tenderness and her empathy for the human condition. She really was quite extraordinary. So again, thank all of you for sharing your words of comfort. The Houston's Children Chorus will now, under the direction of Steve Roddy, perform A World of Difference. That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Steve and children. That was amazing. And now it is my honor and privilege to introduce our host for the evening, the leader of our great city and a dear friend. Please welcome Mayor Sylvester Turner.
Let me certainly start off by thanking Linda Laurel for yes, please. Thank you, Linda, for graciously giving of your time this evening. And certainly I want to again acknowledge all of the members of City Council, the Comptroller, all of our city employees. And then this evening we also have the privilege of having two former First Ladies of the City of Houston, Kathy Hubbard and Elise Lanier. Please give it up to them. Thank you all so very, very much. Please stand. Thank you all so very much. Thank you all. I also want to acknowledge the esteemed members of the Consular Corps. If you're a member of the Consular Corps, please stand as well. Thank you all so very much. And I think simply your presence speaks volumes about the importance and the impact that Barbara Bush has had, not only locally, but all over the globe. Certainly want to thank you. And then I have the privilege of having the first daughter here as well, Ashley Page Turner. Someone's very special. Thank you. Let me just start off by saying good evening to everyone. This is certainly a beautiful day, and it's been a beautiful day all day today. The sun is shining, and the blue sky is simply perfect. It's great weather as we come together in front of City Hall across the street from the Central Library and the Barbara Bush Literacy Plaza. Dr. Lawson, it's only fitting that we are having this celebration of Barbara Bush right here when we can literally look across the street to the plaza that's named in her honor. I get the feeling the former First Lady is looking down and smiling at the fact that we have gathered to celebrate her life and legacy. She's not smiling because she thought she deserved any special recognition. No, I think she's smiling because the crowd represents the Houston she loved. People who represent all ages, races, cultures, religion, and quite frankly, people that come from all over the globe. That is the Barbara Bush I will always remember, someone who loved people and lived to make a difference. Barbara Bush was a strong Texas woman, full of grit and grace. The ambassador, some have referred her to, the matriarch, the Yellow Rose of Texas. It's no surprise that she is going to be buried on the grounds of the Bush Presidential Library, but the fact that she's going to be buried at any library at all symbolizes her life works to spread the magic that can be found in books. Barbara Bush knew that if you give a child the gift of learning how to read, it is a gift that keeps on giving. And even though she herself may not be physically present, the fact that she touched so many children's lives and taught them and encouraged them how to read means that she will live on for a long time. What a legacy to give to our children. As we all know, Barbara Bush was fond of reading books to children. Her passion was family literacy, and in her honor, I kind of looked around and tried to find a book that I thought would be appropriate today to read just in her honor. So I looked around and found this book called The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. And if you will, I just want to close my comments today as we salute and celebrate the life of Barbara Bush by reading a short excerpt from The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. It reads as follows. Once there was a tree, and she loved a little boy. And every day the boy would come and he would gather her leaves and make them into crowns and play king of the forest. He would climb up her trunk and swing from her branches and eat all the apples he could find. And they would play hide and go seek. And when he was tired, he would sleep in her shade. And the boy loved the tree very much, and the tree was very happy. That's the Barbara Bush that we all will remember. And we are sleeping in her shade.
Thank you so much, Mayor Turner, for your inspiring tribute to Mrs. Bush. Well, tonight we are also thrilled to have with us Houston's Poet Laureate to recite a special poem for Mrs. Bush. Please welcome Deborah Deep Mouton.
A large thank you to Mayor Turner for having me here today. Love and prayers to the Bush family. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. As I was thinking of the legacy that Mrs. Bush left, I was inspired by my journey into literature as well, and the impact that a single book can make in a child, and how many impacts she made by all of the work that she did. When you show a child a book, they read for a day. But when you pour concrete like an uncracked spine, Graft your arms into covers wide enough to hold the episodic narrative of a nation. When you script a table whose contents feed stomachs of all ages, build innumerable libraries as the preface to a legacy of selflessness, when you peel back the pages, unblind all members of a family at the same time and still raise a family at the same speed, birth 6 children and lose 1 in dynasty, when you love like a 73-year story and you don't give in or give up when the words don't come as quickly as they should or the world reads at a slower pace, but you push, like education is a building action. You pull, like the climax is right around the chapter. When you take out another book, because there is a country so famished for kindness, and your heart is a library waiting to lend, your action falls into the kaleidoscope of a child's eyes when their hands clench the new world for the first time, and again, when you give that child yourself and you call it a life of service, you never have to worry if they will remember your name. Thank you.
She would love that, Deborah. Thank you so much. Absolutely beautiful. And thank you for your work as our city's poet laureate. As we remember and praise former First Lady Barbara Bush, let us take a moment now to reflect on her life and her work. Here to offer a shared prayer of celebration is Reverend Greg Hahn and representatives from Houston's interfaith community.
My name is Greg Hahn with Interfaith Ministries. Our prayer seeks to do what prayers often do, to give thanks for that which is holy and good, to honor and to bless, to call forth our best selves as we honor what is good and what is strong and what is true. In celebrating the life of Barbara Bush, we remember that what she did was good and what we can do is good in claiming and reclaiming a society of respect, of understanding and service. So it is my pleasure to welcome Rabbi David Lyon, Congregation Beth Israel, Dr. Moeen Butt, past president of the Islamic Society of Greater Houston, and the Reverend Becky Edmiston Lang, pastor of Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church.
Mrs. Bush is sadly no longer with us, but she once said in a C-SPAN interview, "I have no fear of death. I know there is a great God, and I'm not worried." And so let us think of this time as an opportunity for us, the living, to reflect upon how we will live our lives together as a community. Because the only way forward is together. No matter our differences, no matter our diversity, the future we share will be the one that we forge together through passionate and compassionate engagement with one another. Again, to quote the former First Lady, believe in something larger than yourself. Get involved in some of the big ideas of our time. And now, in the spirit of respect, dignity, and fellowship, let us join together.
Beloved and gracious God, we offer our prayers to you with gratitude for the gifts you've but lent to us. We give thanks for the life of Barbara Bush and her values, which are reflected in the power of community. She once said, "Never lose sight of the fact that the most important yardstick of your success will be how you treat other people, your family, your friends, your coworkers, and even strangers you meet along the way." We also give thanks for her reminder to give when she noted, "Some people give time, some money, some their skills and connections, some literally give their life's blood. But everyone has something to give." May we honor the memory of Barbara Bush by being people who care for others with full hearts and giving to others with open hands.
We give thanks for the power of Houston Strong. We give thanks that Barbara Bush believed in power of human spirit to rise up. She said, if human beings are perceived as potential rather than problems, as possessing strengths instead of weakness, as unlimited rather than dull and unresponsible, then they thrive and grow to their best capabilities. We are a people and a city of great potential, great courage, and great spirit. Just as she did, let us be people that believe in ourselves and believe in each other.
We remember Barbara Bush this evening as tough and resilient, and yet at the same time tender and compassionate. She was at once a persuader, a supporter, a friend, a leader, a first mother, a first lady. She was Texan tough and Houston strong. May her strength and her commitment to faith, to friendship, and to family be good models for us all.
And now the diversity of our four faiths is illustrative but not fully representative of the many faiths and beliefs and value systems within our city that are important and vital and bind us together. Let our presence and these words in memory of Barbara Bush remind us that our diversity is a strength, and may we all work for the good of all. And let us all say, Amen.
Gracious
That was absolutely breathtaking. Thank you so much, children. Yes, another round of applause. That beautiful song that they just performed for us was inspired by the Old Testament. Thank all of you so very much for answering the mayor's call to take part in this celebration to honor the memory of our beloved former First Lady, Barbara Bush. I invite you now to visit the Downtown Library's Barbara Bush Literacy Plaza to sign a memory book or leave a video tribute, and this will be open on the plaza through Saturday. Let's all vow to continue being a shining beacon, a point of light, to be kinder, more inclusive, and more loving, to lift others up through our words and actions. Thank you all so very much for coming. It has been my great honor to be with you tonight. Have a good evening.
And you have been watching a celebration of life in honor of former First Lady Barbara Bush, and it truly was a celebration. People coming here to remember her sharp wit, but also how warm she was, at the lives she touched, and the legacy she left behind.
Yes, in attendance were several Houston city leaders, as well as some religious leaders from 4 different faiths. We know Mrs. Bush attended an Episcopal church, but many different leaders from different religions came together to honor her life. Several very poignant moments here tonight. And Keith, as you mentioned, this wasn't a somber occasion. This was a joyous occasion, a real celebration of Houston's First Lady's incredible life.
We're going to have more as we wrap up the celebration of life for First Lady Barbara Bush. We're going to go to this commercial break first, and we'll be right back.
Okay. Do you happen to know his... Welcome back to this celebration of life of former First Lady, Mrs. Barbara Bush. We're still down here at Houston City Hall, where an event just wrapped up that really honored the life and legacy of Mrs. Barbara Bush. And there were quite a few people here in downtown Houston gathered for various reasons to come out here and show their support.
Yeah, our Ryan Korsgaard was one of several reporters who was down here to cover the celebration of life event. He joins us now live after gathering some folks who were here to witness it themselves. Ryan.
You know, one thing that really struck me is they quoted an interview with Mrs. Bush from several years ago in which she said she didn't fear death. In fact, she said there was a great God. So that kind of set the tone for a lot of what we saw and experienced tonight. Marilyn Stewart was here. And Ms. Stewart, just give me your thoughts as you sat there in the audience tonight.
I was pretty impressed. I enjoyed the kids and the perspective, how they talk about how she talked. She believed you've been giving the kids the proper education. So I was really impressed with that. And I was impressed with the community, how they came together as a whole. So it was a very, very nice program in honor of Miss Barbara Bush.
And you mentioned you can't go to the visitation tomorrow, so it was important for you to come here tonight.
Definitely,
Why?
Yes. Because I want to be a part of it, because she was a wonderful woman. She did leave a legacy, and she really did so much in Houston. So I just want to be a part of it, just to show my respect and to show that how honored I was to have known such a wonderful woman like her. So,
in your mind, what is that legacy?
Well, look at that. She had a husband that was a president. She had a son that's a president. Had a son that was a governor. She had done so much. You know, she had so much to leave. And so that's, well, how many women can say that?
You're right. Ms. Stewart, thank you for taking time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you very much. But that does give you an idea of some of the things that were said here tonight. And one thing that touched me, the mayor said it is fitting that they have this memorial service right across the street from the library, right across the street from the plaza, that will be named after Mrs. Bush. And he also pointed out perhaps it's fitting as well that she's being buried at a library in College Station. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, also very fitting, Ryan. Thank you so much that we had this event on such a beautiful day, really a beautiful day to honor the former First Lady.
Yeah, there were some amazing moments in today's ceremony, including the reading of a letter that was written by former President George H.W. Bush specifically for the attendees of today's events. And just as we heard from Jenna Bush Hager, he is trying to continue Barbara's legacy of being funny, of, you know, making a lighthearted moment even when times are difficult. And he made some references to him and Barbara being so grateful for the Houston Astros winning their World Series title and being hopeful for more success from the Rockets. They were both great sports fans.
Yeah, he added the fact that hopefully, or he added his wish that hopefully Barbara up in heaven was going to be able to give the Rockets a little more push from up there in their quest for a championship. And so we will see. We will be praying for our Rockets and keeping those fingers crossed as we continue to honor Mrs. Bush as well.
Yeah, this event meant a lot to many Houstonians. And to give you a little bit more perspective, one of our longtime reporters, KPRC Channel 2 reporter Robert Arnold, was in attendance as well. And we're going to join him live now, also in downtown Houston, for a bit of his perspective. Robert?
Well, first, I would like to introduce everybody to Miss Vicki Knowles. Yes. Thank you very much for talking with it. And I told you before, you looked lovely in your blue and your pearls. And so I just had to talk to you. And before we came on, you and I had a chance to chat a little bit about some of our memories and some of the reasons here. And you were saying one of the things for you is that Mrs. Bush really reminded you of your own mom.
Yes. My mom passed away about 18 months ago. Mm-hmm. And she was such a gracious lady. And it seems to me they had the same spirit because they loved children. My mother was a pediatric nurse, and of course, and then she had 7 of us. Wow. And we were just always, she just adored us. And I saw that with Mrs. Bush, and she has such a beautiful family. And she was just very graceful. And she was a lot like me because I like wearing pearls also.
That's right.
So that's why I really wanted to come today. I wanted to wear my pearls in her honor.
Okay.
And
no better reason. Yes.
Absolutely. And so, and Houston has just lost a wonderful humanitarian and a wonderful mother of Houston. Mm-hmm. And so...
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say we were both talking about there were quite a few poignant moments throughout this program. For me, it was when the mayor was reading Shel Silverstein's The Giving Tree, because I remember growing up having that book and the little boy who played, under, in her branches and then slept in the shade of the tree, and he made that metaphor that we are now all under the shade of Mrs. Bush for all the wonderful things she did in this world. For you, what were some of the moments for you in this program?
I think the children. That's what her calling was, it seems. And it seems as though they just sang like little angels. And so, and I know she's with someone now, and I know the angels are singing with her. now. And I think that was my highlight tonight.
Great. Thank you for taking your time. It was really a pleasure. It was really meeting you, and I mean it. You're lovely in your pearls and blue. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, guys. This has just been really, everywhere you go, it's just been an immense sense of goodwill. Everybody you talk to, it's like that infectious spirit of Mrs. Bush has just gone everywhere. It's really, even though it's been somewhat of a sad time, it's really also been a joyous time as you talk to people. Everybody shares memories, shares the things that they truly loved about not just Mrs. Bush, but about the Bush family. Guys, back to you.
Okay, Robert, thank you so much. This was truly a wonderful celebration. We had members of the faith community. We also had a number of performances, and one of the highlight performances certainly was the national anthem being sung, and that was sung by the young lady who joins me now, Nicole Houston, with the Houston Grand Opera, a soprano. A beautiful job, first off.
Thank you very much.
Tell me, what was it like to be able to sing the national anthem here at this wonderful celebration of life?
It was such an honor to get a chance to do this. I got this call at the last minute, and they asked, "Are you available?" And I said, "Of course I am." I was such a huge fan of Mrs. Barbara Bush. I met her only once at a hair salon, and she was the sweetest, kindest person I had ever met, but strong, like they said. And I really appreciated what she stood for as a woman, and I was just very honored that they asked me to do this.
For you, what do you think her legacy is going to be? What is the part of her legacy that you will remember the most?
I think as a mother, I think that would be it. I think the fact that she was able to raise 5 children. I had heard just recently that her biggest goal was to raise children that were successful but not entitled, but gave back to the community and to the world, and that's what she did. And she accomplished so much with her family and her life, and that I can totally appreciate. I think that's a wonderful thing.
And clearly an inspiration to you.
Yes, definitely.
When you were there singing and you got to look out at the crowd, could you in any way feel her presence here? You know, I mean, people talked about her being here and this being such a wonderful day for her.
I actually did. It was so beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful day in Houston we have a nice breeze, it's comfortable weather, but it felt so calm. And when I sang the line of the home of the brave, I thought of, her bravery to be able to do all the things that she was able to do in her lifetime.
Okay. All right, Nicole Houston with the Houston Grand Opera. Again, beautiful job with the National Anthem today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Certainly. Thank you for having me.
Okay. And as the crowd continues to move on out, we want to give you a look at the area. Again, just another beautiful day here to honor the former First Lady. It was an event that lasted about 40 minutes or so and started with the MC beginning everything, but also with a performance by the Houston Children's Chorus, which was so near and dear to the hearts of the Bush family. They actually have been in Houston for 29 years, and in those 29 years they have performed in front of the Bush family or for the Bush family 32 different times, and so very near and dear to the hearts of the Bush family.
Yeah, it's a beautiful ceremony here today, a beautiful day for it, as you've mentioned several times, just such a lovely day. And so